Hi again. So recently, I've been on many podcasts. I think I'm at 20 right now. And most of the hosts, when they start asking questions, one of the questions they really want to have an answer to is how does it actually not start, but what can we do to prevent? How can we make sure that we do not end up in a toxic relationship? That's a really, really good question, and that's exactly why I decided to write the book. Because I don't want anybody to end up in a toxic relation because it does something with somebody. I don't think I'm the same person as I was before because of being in toxic relationships. I'm just feeling right now, I think I've lost some of the innocence that I had before. That hurts actually. So I think I'm different. I'm more aware of what's happening when I meet people. I'm double checking a lot because I'm anxious of ending up in a toxic relationship ever again. So yes, I think it's a really good question to answer. And perhaps one of the questions you have now, and who are you, Karen, to answer that question? Well, that's a really good question. Am I the expert? I don't think so. I'm not a therapist. What I am is a survivor. I have survived several toxic relationships. I have been in a toxic relationship in the family, at work, at school, and not one but several. So I can look back at my life right now and double check things. And I have to be honest, as I'm going ahead, as I'm talking, as I'm going into conversations with on podcasts, when I speak or when I meet people, I always learn new things. So the things that I'm sharing here is what I know today, and I'm sure I'm gonna end up with even more expertise as I'm speaking more in the digital world and in the real world. So that's as honest as I can be. What I know, I want to share, because I think it's really important that I don't hold back and that I share as much as possible of how it feels to be in a toxic relationship, because healing takes such a long time. So prevention would be like the best ever. So what is the very first red flag that could help you not to enter in a toxic relationship? Gonna try. I have talked on other videos already about love bombing. And when we talk about love bombing, just quickly, it's when you meet somebody new you haven't met before and they're so wonderful. It's like magic. The moment you feel this is magical, I think this is the very, very first red flag you can ever see. So if you hear yourself saying, this is almost too good to be true, well, it probably is, but you will continue. Most of us do. You will continue because it's addictive. Those people give you a mirror to look into, and you will see the best version of yourself. That is what they're going to reflect to you back. They're going to reflect your best version of yourself back to you. And it's amazing. Your best talents, your best sides of yourself, the most positive traits you have, they're all going to mirror that back to you. And it's lovely. For the first time in your life, you meet somebody who sees you, who supports you, who is into you, who's interested in you, who's going to ask questions, who wants to know all about you, but also who's very sensitive on what kind of positive feedback you would like to hear. They know, and they will give all the positive feedback you want. This is the very first red flag. The problem is that most of us, when you end up in a relationship like that, and somebody says it's almost too good to be true, even yourself, you're not going to believe it. And that's the problem, because they're going to groom you. And they're going to make sure that you fall deeply in love, you fall hard, and you fall quickly because they want you in their life as soon as possible. And they're going to give you all the reasons why they want you as close as possible to you, because you're so wonderful, you're so smart, you're so courageous, you're so into sports, you're the greatest cook, whatever they're going to tell you, and you're going to just soak it in. Because to be honest, how many people do we meet in our lives where they are give so much feedback that is really lovely, that feels like amazing? Not many. So when you meet somebody like that and you're in a kind of a difficult situation, you don't feel like balanced, it's gonna feel lovely. Even if you're balanced, still then it's gonna sound like wonderful. If you start a new job and your mentor looks at your CV and says, my goodness, you're the best employee I've ever had. Look at this, you're so smart and I could really use your support here. We're gonna make a lovely team. I think you're the perfect fit for the job. How lovely would that be if you could hear that, right? Because you're looking for a job and then somebody comes your way and says, you are exactly what we need. And we're gonna make such a wonderful team together because I have these traits and you have these other traits, and we're gonna make the best team ever. And then over time it's gonna shift. And because of the fact that we all believe in the good of people, we cannot wrap our head around the fact that the first version of that person, the first version of a toxic person, is not his real persona. It is not. It's fake. But how can you wrap your head around the fact that when you meet somebody new, that the very first version of them is fake? It's just almost not possible. So that's why it's so difficult to talk about the first red flags in a toxic relationship, because how do you explain that when you meet somebody new, perhaps the first impression that you have is not correct, and only when you move over time and you get into that relationship and you work together, or you have a life together, you have romance together, that it shifts towards, sometimes they end up being really nasty, like a bully, like a real jerk. And you cannot believe it because it started totally different. So you will always want to go back to the first period. But the first weeks, months, years were not the real person. They were the person with the mask. And that's the most difficult thing to explain about toxic relationships. So how can we prevent ending up in toxic relationships? Well, the only thing I can really feel down deep in my body is go really slow. And when you hear yourself saying, my goodness, I just met somebody, or I have a new boss, I can't believe it, it's too good to be true, be careful, because that is a red flag. So go slow, take your time, because they want your trust really quickly. They want to give you, it feels like they give you all the possibilities in the world, but they're not. They're going to take it away one by one by one, one by one. And I want to talk about how the feeling is behind toxic relationships. I'm going to do that in a different video, but just to make it really short so that I can give already something today, is that if you feel that things are decreasing over time, so you start and everything is wonderful, you feel happy, you have all your hobbies, you have all your friends, you have your family around you, you have your pet that you love, you're going on, you still travel, you have the sports and the food that you want, everything is there. And then they're going to diminish all these things. They're going to diminish how many hobbies you can have. They're going to diminish how well you can speak up about yourself. They're going to diminish how you can, how often you can see friends. They're gonna, if you see that everything is being decreased over time, that's not a very good sign. But I'm going to talk about that in a different video later on. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions that you want me to address, if you think perhaps I want just to hear Karen's insights and see what she thinks about certain subjects, just let me know. If you want to know more about the pattern behind toxic relationships, stay tuned. I'm going to talk about it every single week. Thank you for being here. Lots of love, and take care of yourself, and most importantly, stay open and curious. That's the best. See you.